Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here, basically, we are discussing about one topic, that is currencies dependency. In currency dependency, it's ideas in ideas. Basically, it's global warming error. And in global warming error, basically, we are discussing about one topic, that is city solution. Basically, in solution, basically, we are discussing about cities. Basically, so cities basically is the one solution. Basically. So in this basically we are discussing about one thing basically, that is cities creation basically. So in this basically we are discussing about one topic, that is up to what level the government have the authority basically. Government tells that basically whatever data we sends, whatever data we sends, that data only basically the power company and energy company basically and the nuclear power company sends the data of to the buildings basically. Without power supply basically the buildings can't stand at the straight position basically. It's going to move to left and it's going to 100% going to move right side basically. That's why basically the government only says that basically we have sent the data to the power company, so that basically you are going to get the data. We are building, for example, in Vadodara city basically around 7 lakh buildings are there, or basically I assume 8 lakh buildings are there. So government always has sends the basically data of 8 lakh building always basically. If they are not sending any of the data basically of the building basically, then basically in future basically small magnitude also will come, that will down that building basically, means that building will get fall down basically. So like this basically things basically are there basically. So here basically one of the person told that basically like this basically the government keeps the control, which controls with them basically. Government keeps the controls with them basically. Government keeps the control with them basically. Government keeps the control with them basically. So it's not so basically mm, tough also basically you can say which type of energy is required, that all data basically government sends basically. And power company and nuclear power company, by default they have the data of the city basically, that is 100% sure basically. That data basically they have it basically, they have the data, so sends the data they sends the data according to the, they have the data. So like this basically things are there. One of the person told that basically this city basically is known as a corona medicine data. So corona medicine data means corona antibiotics data basically are created, so that keeps on updating and then basically they keeps on sending the data to the city basically. The corona planet is also there basically, that also basically sends data to the corona city basically. And corona land basically is created, and according to that basically the data are also basically created. So whenever the city basically gets creates, there basically each and every antibiotics basically are placed in the form of construction areas basically, that are basically the buildings. That buildings basically is sending the malaria energy basically, malaria antibiotic. That building basically which is sending, that basically sending the chikungunya energy. That building is basically which are sending, they are basically giving the corona medicines basically, that are the corona antibiotics in the environment basically. So in environment basically data must exist basically of the each and every antibiotics. For example, one disease is basically getting spreaded in the city, that means the data basically does not exist in the environment basically. Due to that basically the data has not sent properly basically, or basically it might possible that the building basically which was supposed to generate the data, that has not generated. Why? Because the power supply company basically passed the data to that building that was basically having some problem basically. Reason was basically where the building basically was created by this 100 city basically, 100 country basically, and this 100 city basically is having some problem basically. So due to that basically the power company was not able to capture that 100 city data, and due to that basically the building was not able to generate the proper antibiotic in the environment basically. So just see up to what level things basically connects. So each and every countries nowadays are connected with each other. Reason, the power supply basically has and the antibiotic basically in this world. For example, in this world basically there are more than 1 lakh disease, and 1 lakh disease antibiotics are also basically prepared. So each and every antibiotics keeps on updating from the set of planets basically, which from on the base of that energy basically are created, on the base of the countries basically are created. Like this they keeps on updating. If the data is not getting properly generated in the environment, then basically it will create problems basically. It will create problems, and then basically it will generate the bad energy basically. That is name you can give as a negative energy basically. So negative energy basically generates like this. Basically, the power supply is not getting passed to the certain level of buildings basically, which are basically the antibiotic basically of the certain level of disease. Due to that, basically the disease is not get that biotic is not getting properly generated, and due to that, basically the environment basically is not getting generated properly, and due to that, bad and negative energy basically are getting too much generated. The reason positive energies are not getting generated, due to that basically the problem basically gets created. So like this basically just see up to what level the things basically are connected, up to what level the things basically are connected. So it's not easy basically to maintain the city also basically. Lots of people say that city is already created, now basically we can easily able to maintain the city basically. But maintenance of city basically converts to more hard work basically, because you have to pass each and every data, each and everything basically you have to pass. So it's basically containing more difficulty basically. So it's not so easy to maintain the city also basically. It's very tough basically to maintain the city also basically nowadays. To create the city basically that is tough, but to maintain the city basically comes to more tough basically, because reasons are basically that we have already discussed basically. Reasons are there basically that we have already discussed. So in next video basically we are going to see little bit more about this part only, that is the city creation. How easy basically you can create the city by managing the stuff. One person asked the question, "Arey, yeah, this project is very complicated." So one person told that basically we can create the management plan up to that level that this complicated stuff basically will become easy. So this is the stuff basically. This is the stuff basically. When these are the words basically which says that basically complicated task and complicated stuff basically can become easy by handling the proper management in the project basically. If you are doing proper management, then basically it's easy to handle the projects basically, and it's easy to create the cities also basically. So like this basically complicated work basically becomes easy by handling the proper management, by handling that complicated work into proper management style basically. So like this basically next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about this all.